Welcome to the Virtual Gas. I'm your host, Rob Crean. Thank you so much for joining me. I got tested for COVID-19 2 days ago, and my test came back negative. And so now I'm convinced that I got COVID-19 in the half a block from where I got tested to my house. I'm sure that that's where, they called me the next day, told me I was negative, and I thought, well, yeah, yesterday, but I mean, I walked almost 300 yards since then. I probably already got it. Like, my grandparents were always so afraid of pneumonia because when they were growing up, people used to just, you get pneumonia once and that was it. You're dead. I think that's what I'm going to be like as an old man, as I'm just going to constantly be talking about COVID-19. Kids won't even know what I'm talking about, and I'll have to explain. It's like COVID-35, but from a couple years back. Oh yeah, they'll still be suffering from a very similar zoonotic diseases. Just they won't be familiar with the number. For years, I've been saying, if I could just get myself organized, what I really want to do, I would love to read more books, and I would love to go on more hikes. And now that has been answered in the most Twilight Zone way, where that is now all I do, is just read books, go for hikes. I'm sick of nature, sick of Stephen King. I like to read Stephen King books because they're very big, thick books, but they're dumb. So they're easy to read, but when you're done, you're like, I really did something. I'm wearing a mask all the time. I don't like the masks, but I have to consider how much worse it is for people whose eyes aren't their best feature. They're kind of cool though too, because they're an accessory. You can use the masks to to like show people what type of media you're into, and so that's always fun. Which I've been doing with this is my right here. So that's lets you know what I'm about. Please welcome Lamont Price.
Yay!
Woo,
Thanks
woo, woo.
for having me, man.
How are you doing?
I'm all right, I guess, considering.
Yeah.
I've been pretty much in the house since March 7th, with minor exceptions.
Yeah, same here. I've gone grocery shopping 3 times.
Like Tiger King, man, it feels like that came out 8 years ago.
It's so strange. What have you been doing to stay sane during it?
I've been watching a lot of television.
Yep.
I watch a lot of shows that came out at a time when none of this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, I love that show.
I love the show. It's one of my favorite TV shows, and the amount of police negligence that Andy gets away with is appalling.
It is.
And not so much himself, but in his coddling of his deputy there, that Barney Fife.
Yeah.
That man would have killed all the black people in Mayberry if they were in Mayberry. It's unbelievable.
Black people in Mayberry. I mean, that might be wrong. Maybe.
I've seen one black person in one episode, and it was an episode where they were going to a picnic. But before then, Barney accidentally arrested the bank manager because the bank manager was going into the bank and he thought he was trying to rob the place. And then the whole town gathered to make fun of Barney. And there's a character named Judd. Anytime Judd shows up, that means Barney's about to get roasted all the way to Mount Pilot. And I live for that shit. And anyway, the whole town just gathers around him after he screws up. And it's like one black woman who's just an extra in the background. And she must live in Mayberry, or either that or she works at somebody's house.
Yeah.
In Mayberry.
Wow, that's cool. There's at least they had one black person.
The Andy Griffith, yeah, that's easy for white people to say.
You can't believe how easy it was.
Dude, somebody told me one time that I should watch Mad Men, and I was like, I don't really care. And he goes, no, man, this is I don't like the era that it's just not really.
Yeah.
He goes, no, there's a black dude that works in the elevator. And I was like, I don't know why I'm not whooping your ass right now. I should legally be beating the shit out of you right here on the street. Something about the Andy Griffith Show And you know what it reminds me of?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this sounds weird or not. It's a lot of Seinfeld in it.
Yeah.
The open world of it. I don't know if open world sitcom is an actual phrase, but it's like an open world. And Andy's the straight man and all these kooks. There's a stark difference between the way he was in season 1 to season 2 when he realized he needed to play off of Barney.
Yeah.
And just be sort of the voice of reason as opposed to trying to be, I guess his slack-jawed yokel term he was really trying to go for. Because I think it's a spinoff of the Danny Thomas show.
Yeah.
And then I think there's another one called Something for Sergeants that he did, where he was really slack-jawed in it, but he was doing Andy Taylor. I don't like the way the show ends. If you watch the series finale, it's like, this doesn't wrap anything up for me. What I read about it was that Don Knotts signed on to do it, and Don Knotts suggested to Andy, he's like, your show would need a deputy. And he got himself his own job. He created the part. And then he signed on. Originally, Andy had only planned to do the show for 5 seasons. So Don Knotts signed on for 5 seasons. And then Don Knotts obviously blew up in those 5 seasons.
Yeah.
And he signed, before the last season, he signed the movie deal. But what he didn't know was Andy was negotiating for more seasons. Yeah. And by the time he learned that, it was too late.
Yeah. He's doing Incredible Mr. Lippett.
He was already booked to do other stuff, so he couldn't commit to doing the sitcom anymore.
That guy, man, he's one of those guys that just, you look at him and he just makes you laugh just the way he stands.
It tells you a lot of how marketing works for you, because if you just look at Don Knotts, look at the Barney Fife character. First of all, I didn't know I'd be talking about this tonight, but if you look at the Barney Fife character and you go, this dude, he's a goofy, he's a bumbling moron. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the underbelly of that character, that dude was fucking. He had Thelma Lou. Mm-hmm. Thelma Lou was fine. He had Juanita down at the diner, and there was like 2 other women throughout the show that he was cheating on Thelma Lou with on a regular basis, and he was smooth with it. It was hilarious.
It's kind of like just like his character on Three's Company, but just in a different era where he had to be a little bit more discreet,
Yeah, and if you look at Don Knotts in those early 50s and 60s Don Knotts, and you put his picture up, and you put it up side by side with, say, hear me out, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of difference in how those 2 guys look.
Because Frank Sinatra is kind of goofy looking, really.
Yeah, skinny dude, big head,
big ears, he's kind of goofy looking.
But his vibe was smooth. He was a crooner, and that essence kind of flowed off of him. He looked a lot like Barney. Yeah, and it's just how you market the person, I guess. But anyway, to your question, I've been watching a lot of that.
Yeah, and, Joe, I'm watching that. I would imagine you probably are also a fan of. I've been going hard on Perfect Strangers.
I love Perfect Strangers, but I haven't been watching it during this time. What's it on?
It's on Hulu. They just put it on Hulu pretty recently. And,
okay.
So far, I mean, I'm like on the 3rd season, I think. So they've got at least the first 3 seasons, and it's. I didn't know if it was going to hold up, and it does. It's so funny.
It really holds up. Wow.
It does, and it's not like it's like you're not going to be like, well, this is so well written, But it's just those 2 guys are so funny, and I just love watching them.
Oh man, I don't think Mark Lynn Baker gets enough credit.
He's so funny.
For Larry Appleton.
There's so much
a character.
Little business that he does. There's the ways that he moves.
His facial expressions, everything is just crisp.
Yeah, the 2 of them together, I'm really loving watching it again. And it's it is every episode is exactly the same.
Balky misunderstands something.
Then they try to get away with something, and then it blows up, and then they fix it, and at the end there's this sort of sad, melancholy music, and says, Balky, I think I learned an important lesson today. And it's.
I met Bronson Pinchot once at a restaurant, Rock Bottom. This was I don't know, 2008 maybe. I guess he was in town doing a play, and he was with a table full of people. So I, whatever. I walked over. I said, hey man, just want to say a big fan, and Beverly Hills Cop is my favorite movie of all time. And then he went on this rant about how much he hated Eddie Murphy.
Really? Oh, wow.
Nah, he never said I hate Eddie Murphy, but he was just like, hey, guy. I don't know. He just didn't seem. I caught him on a bad. He must have been thinking about Eddie that day.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I caught him on a bad day. You know, and then he was just like, Eddie, you did this, and he said, all right, well, nice to meet you, Bronson. I kept it moving. So I'm too high for this, Bronson. I just came to say hi about you. Yeah. And expect your whole life problems to be dumped on me. But then again, maybe I should have left his ass alone.
Well, you know, I think it's good that you heard him out, you listened to his problems, but I think when he kind of got to the end of it, you should have just said, "Don't be ridiculous."
Don't be ridiculous. You know what? If I could do it all again. Once my time machine, I'm working on my time machine right now. It's going to be my refrigerator. I'm not killing Hitler. I'm not saving Martin Luther King. I'm going to rock bottom in 2008. Tell Becky to not be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous.
You're using the refrigerator for the time machine. I've been using the refrigerator box. It's more sense to use the refrigerator. It's got all that electronic stuff in it.
Well, you know, that was the original idea for Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Was to use a refrigerator.
But then they were like, kids will go in refrigerators and die.
I mean, if you watch Punky Brewster at least once, you'd know.
Oh, yeah.
What happened to Alan's stupid ass.
That is one of that is such an essential, very special episode. It's
motherfucker was stuck in a refrigerator for a whole episode.
A couple kids got stuck in refrigerators that were built in like the 30s, and so by the 50s they made them so you could get out.
How could you get there's what do you call it? Like the I want to say, what do you call it?
The magnetic
shelves. There's shelves. That's how stupid I am. I couldn't think of the word shelves. There's fucking shelves. How am I getting in the refrigerator?
You just gotta fold. You gotta fold in there.
I'm not that ambitious. You said to me, Lamont, listen, I'll give you $100 to get in that fridge. I'm like, all right, bet. But then the second I learned I gotta do extra shit, I'm like, look, you just gonna have to keep your money. I got some napping to do.
If someone said to me, I'll give you $100 to either eat everything in that refrigerator or get in that refrigerator, I think I might try to eat everything.
Oh yeah, eating. I mean, that's not even. Who would choose that option? But all right, but whose refrigerator? Like, what are we eating? What's in their fridge?
I'm thinking of my refrigerator, which is pretty stocked.
Yeah, I loaded up yesterday.
I have 2 other roommates. It's crammed. It's really. Ice trays are slidden sideways.
Here's my move, right? You take an old jug of lemonade or orange juice, clean it out, whatever, and put water in it, and I set it in the freezer all day. Solid block. Late at night, in the summertime especially. You know, put it on my nightstand, and I go to sleep. Inevitably, I wake up, and then right there, with the condensation coming down, what? That ice water, let me tell you something, man. It changed your life. And I drink a lot of seltzer, too. But on the weekends is when I let my juice come out and play. Minute Maid fruit punch, a couple of lemonades, grape juice, even some ginger ale lately. And I make a slush. Weekends are slush. I've discovered a land of beauty at the end of my bed. It's like I'm camping. It's a different place. And I roast potatoes, and I bake some chicken, and I make a slush, and I watch the Andy Griffith Show on the Sundance Channel. Everything's ready to rock. And that's how I get down on the weekends. You have no idea how much I love slush. I Google slush every night to see what they're doing, what's new in the world of slush.
How's the technology progressing?
Yeah, what are the new flavors? Here's how deep in the game I am. I've Googled cantaloupe slush just to see what's going on. And it's a thing.
Is it?
Oh, it's a thing. Last summer, and I guess now this summer too, they had a deal with Minute Maid. McDonald's did. The cherry slush might be the single sexiest thing I have ever seen in my fucking life. And I am not exaggerating. This is what makes me happy. Like, little things like that make me happy. If you tell me 2 things in a row, Lamont, they picked up your sitcom deal. I'd be like, oh, that's what's up. We got to get to work. And then we're going for slush. What? Slush? Yeah. To the slush place. We'll work on this script. We'll work on this script in a bit. But we gotta get some slush.
Can you give me a pitch for your sitcom? What would your sitcom be about?
I wouldn't be married in the sitcom because sitcom wives never support the husband. And they always support whoever's getting on the husband's nerves.
One thing I'll say about sitcom couples is people are always say that every sitcom is a goofy looking guy with an amazingly attractive woman. And like, that's not realistic, but in my experience,
well, that's the honeymooner template. Big fat sweaty blue collar husband who thinks he's entitled to shit more than he has, and they give him this beauty queen who he doesn't appreciate. And every third episode, he gets jealous because she talks to the mailman. Because, you know, he's in his world, he owns her. And it's like, dude, I watch King of Queens. It's the same shit. I don't know what my show would be.
What if you were a slush entrepreneur?
Oh, if I was a slush salesman?
You and Bronson Pinchot own a slushy shop. It writes itself.
I really need to get some help in here. And that's when, cling-a-ling, here comes Bronson Pinchot. I don't even know if he's going to be Balky, but in my head, he's Balky. Do you need, I'm looking for a job. And the crowd goes crazy. And then all the promo footage is me and him back to back with our arms folded. Now they do that like fucking Wednesdays at 8. Wednesdays at 8. This guy's this. And this guy does this. But together, they do this.
Together, they are the Slush Fund. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, there it is. That's the show. Together, they're the Slush Fund. Oh, okay. So my slush company is going through financial struggle. And Balky comes up, and he's got some illegal idea on how to launder some money so that we can keep my place afloat. And the whole show is me and him selling slush and all the wacky shenanigans that come with that, along with us dodging both the feds and the mafia. Tuesdays at 9:30. And that way we can employ Ernie Sabella again. Get Ernie Sabella back in the fold.
Oh man, he's so good. He calls him
great.
He calls Balky Turnip. Nonstop. He's so funny. He's also the naked guy from Seinfeld.
He's a naked guy in Seinfeld. He was Mr. Twinkassetti on Perfect Strangers. Yeah. He was Mr. Carosi in Saved by the Bell when they went to the beach.
Oh yeah.
With Leah Remini, who was in those King of Queens. He was Mr. Pond in an episode of Married with Children, where he was Peg's boss. She got a job in an episode. And yeah, obviously in Seinfeld, he's the naked guy on the subway. Seinfeld, by the way, is my favorite show of all time.
It's so good.
My favorite show ever.
Watching Seinfeld as a kid, I thought someday that'll be my life, and it kind of is, really. Like, I'm not as successful as the real Seinfeld, but I'm like not that far from the character on the show. You know, I mean, I'm never gonna do the Tonight Show, but you know, my day-to-day.
In subtle ways, it is a brilliant take on the life of a comedian. In subtle ways, they don't go out of their way to overstate it, which is a part of the brilliance. They don't throw it in your face.
Yeah.
But if you're a comedian, you watch it and you go, "This is." Yeah.
I've always interpreted that all the other characters used to be comics and gave up.
I can see it.
Don't you have friends?
And none of them could hold down a job, so clear. It makes sense. If I count out every comedian that I've ever known, most of them don't do it anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I always thought Kaz was your Costanza.
I guess that's an apt thing. Yeah, I guess that's an apt description.
Yeah, and I know some people who are in the room have met my roommate, who is a 100% Kramer.
I've met him.
Yeah,
I've met him.
He's Kramer. He's absolutely Kramer.
I don't know where he is right now, but I bet he's talking.
Yeah.
Wherever he is.
I mean, he can't be in the apartment because we can't hear him. So he's been doing well during this, though. He's been doing Dungeons and Dragons full time. He's been enjoying it.
You could do that full. That is.
I mean, he's not making any money. He's not making any money. Yeah.
Does he know that he could have done that the whole time? Oh, because he would work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not really. He makes money, but he doesn't really work. But but just because no one else works now.
When you have, say, a snow day, when the city shuts down, and even though you weren't going anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
You just feel like, hey, I'm a part of society. I don't feel like an asshole just sitting here in my sweats.
Every day that I've had since this quarantine is not that different than like three or four out of 7 days a week for me the entire winter, you know? So in one way, I'm kind of more prepared for it, but in another way, like I was so ready to not do that anymore. So I'm kind of going crazy, but being a comic has sort of prepared me for not leaving the house during the day.
I don't go out a lot anyway because there's nothing out there for me. I mean, I go to do stand up, or I'll go out if I'm traveling to do stand up. Like that's kind of the extent of it.
Mm-hmm.
And but staying home is easy.
Yeah, I know you've
like the reopening, the slow reopenings, and people going out to patio. I don't need to eat with people that bad.
No, I'm definitely.
I'd rather be home eating by myself anyway.
Yeah, no, I definitely. I'm not gonna go at any point where people are still like, "What do you think? You think it's time?" I'm not going out until people are like, "Have you heard there are still some people that aren't going out yet?" That's when I go out.
I'm not going to any shaky patio situations. No fucking way. As a matter of fact, if they said tomorrow that they've eradicated it 100%, we're good to go, you're still not going to see my ass till August. Even the first set of PlayStations get called back. I got snacks, I got weed, I got television. I've been watching an ungodly amount of Walker, Texas Ranger.
How does that hold up?
Listen, first of all, I never watched it the first time around.
Yeah.
So my first real experience of that show was when Conan O'Brien had that lever.
Yeah.
You remember this?
Yes.
And he would just show a random clip every now and again. And it would always be like, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
I started watching it during this whole thing. It's on every day, 4 times a day. And I say this without exaggeration. It is the funniest TV show in the history of television. Obviously by accident.
Yes.
Because they really believe in what they're doing.
So
none of it's tongue-in-cheek.
It's so important. Like, I hate movies like Sharknado where they're just like, let's make a shitty movie. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, that was disappointing. I want you to believe it. I want to break your heart.
Yeah, I want people to have tried so hard to make something good and then failed.
Yes.
And not to hate it, but just to enjoy the failure and enjoy.
No, I want to hate it. I don't care about people's feelings. I want you to really care about your project, and then I want to be able to shit on it. Right? And this show is, I don't know how this show got 9 seasons. This show got 9 fucking seasons, man.
Yeah.
Old people.
There was an episode where Walker had to transport a criminal, and he was wanted by the mafia, and he was transporting him on like a little twin engine jet, and the mafia planted a bomb on the jet that went off in the air, and the plane was going down. In the time it took that plane to crash, Walker taught everybody on the plane how to survive a plane crash. And they all survived that shit. And they land in the woods. You know when you get a show like that, every character is an extreme version of what they're supposed to be. So there's like a pregnant woman who was real pregnant. And then there was like a slimy guy who was real slimy. Then there was a black guy who was black as shit. 10 minutes later, Walker is in an abandoned cabin delivering this woman's baby, while also fending off the mafia in the Colorado wilderness.
I just imagine as he's delivering the baby, the slimy guy's like, almost old enough for me to fuck.
Yeah. The bad guys on Walker, Texas Ranger are like, come on, bad guy. Really? There's been so many gang episodes, and the gang members are so mad when you try to make a difference. So you don't want to be in a gang, right? Whatever. And then you try to make it community good. There's been literally scenes where they show the gang members looking at kids not being in gangs and like making the community better. And it was like, it's gotta stop. Like they was upset. And here's what I knew. This is what I knew this shit was brilliant. There was a news report after a shooting in the ghetto, right? And the news reporter said from the scene, and that's the story from here. Reporting live from the hood.
No.
I swear to God. Reporting live from, so you know Chuck Norris wrote that script. There's no way he didn't write those scripts. No fucking way he didn't write those scripts. And me and my boy DJ was like, we think the writers were writing really good scripts, and then Chuck Norris came in and put his notes to it and to change the entire, like, I should jump out of a helicopter right now. Like, what are you talking about? There's no helicopter and there's no context for a helicopter. I don't give a fuck. Put a helicopter. Dude, it's fucking bananas. Every single episode, you're like, what? Mm-hmm. This is sick. And then there's an episode with Dan Lauria, you know, from Wonder Years, mm-hmm. the father on Wonder Years.
He's great.
He plays a mob boss who's trying to toughen his son up. His son's like 8 years old, and he's trying to make him a man. His son climbed up a ladder to get a book, and he was afraid of heights. Don't worry about it, son. Just jump down. Jump down. I'll catch you. Don't worry about it. He's like, Daddy, you sure? Like, don't worry about it. The kid jumped. I swear to God, he let his kid hit the floor. And the sound his kid made when he hit the floor, listen, man, I don't have a heart. That was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. I'm going to make you a fucking man if it kills me. And he walked out of the room, leaving his son writhing on the floor after a fall from a ladder. So they want to make you understand that these are bad guys.
Yeah.
You know,
they don't want to work too hard to make you understand it. But before you go though, could I ask your top 5 quarantine watches for people?
Well, no ranking order here, but obviously Walker, Texas Ranger, Andy Griffith's Show, mm-hmm. Living Single. Mm-hmm. I've gotten into Everybody Loves Raymond. Never watched that before this. And listen, the fifth one I don't even know if I want to say. I'm ashamed almost. It's not a good show. It's not a good show. And I just was sucked in. And I just, fuck it, it's just on. And it's just, I just want to see how they go from A to B, really. That's really what it is. 2.5 Men.
2.5 Men. I can see that. I like
it's
Charlie
awful.
Sheen. I like John Cryer.
It's awful. There's no way to fix this.
What if they added another half a man?
Well, now you're jumping the shark.
But imagine if they changed it to two men and 2 half men.
2 men and two men. Like if Charlie Sheen had a kid.
Yeah. 2 men and 2 half men.
2 men and 2 babies.
2 men and 2 babies. And
Fridays this fall.
2.5 men sounds pretty good. 2 men and half a baby sounds real bad.
I would throw Married with Children in there too, but I've been watching that the whole time. Like no matter what. I always watch Married with Children. I would put the first 5 seasons of Married with Children up against most anything else. Brilliant satire. The actors they got, first of all, the amount of grief it took when we were kids.
Yeah.
You look at it now, you go, wait a minute. This show is owed some Emmy nods. Yeah. I'm not saying it should have won every year, but I know like at least Amanda Bears, who played Marcy.
Yeah, she's great.
She should have got at least 3 of those things. Christina Applegate, you know how good an actor you got to be to play somebody that dumb? Amazing. Ed O'Neill, goes without saying. Everybody was great on that show.
Yeah. Well, Bud.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Lamont, thanks so much for joining me on the show. And
thanks for letting me unbutton my shirt all the way down to the chest hairs. And I hope everybody else has a great night, man. Thank you.
We're going to take a break from the comedy for a minute, and we're going to bring up this next guest is a guy who is he's an expert on contagious diseases and some other stuff. Could please pronounce together and give a warm welcome to Dr. Larry Nightingale.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, Dr. Larry, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm at a remote location, as you know, working on some environmental structures. Got some projects going on.
Yeah, let me start get this. So you're an expert on environmental science and contagious diseases. Is that correct?
That is partly correct, Robert. Thank you. As you know, part of the situation we are in with COVID-19 is that a lot of us are not really thinking about the environment. They're thinking about their, own personal health. So there's a lot of things that have gone by the wayside, a lot of progress that we have made, and that's why I am here, and I appreciate the time. Now your turn to speak.
My turn to speak. Well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. You look great.
I appreciate that. First and foremost.
Is that a real beard or is that a fake beard?
Well, this is mostly dust from a lot of the digging. As you know, scientists are almost always digging, searching for answers, trying to validate hypotheses. It's a science term. I'm sure you don't know it. There's also a big uptick, as you know, reusable bags. People are not using them.
Yeah, because
And
the reusable bags could have diseases on them.
that is a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation floating around, and unfortunately, these bags cannot be broken down in the environment, and they end up in the wild, and they are the #1 killer of robs in the world.
Excuse me?
The #1 killer of rob creans in the world are bags.
Okay. Well, tell me more about this.
Well, I've written a whole book here. As you can see, this is Saving America's Stupidest Animal, the Rob Crean. It's available on Kindle. This is the
Kindle version
beginning.
of it?
That is the Kindle. It's kindling. It's half kindling. You can burn it when you're done with it.
Yeah, it seems like a good idea. Or even before you've read it.
Yeah, and my studies have been in depth, focusing on rob creans in the wild. A lot of people think, do I approach this thing? Do I go near it if I see it in the wild? Chances are he's more scared of you than you are of him. So that's a good thing. They are masturbatory predators, so you're going to want to watch out from that. If you can't see his hands, you know where they are.
Okay.
If you have an infestation to get rid of robs, there's a couple tricks to lure them. Sometimes a glory hole with a mouse trap on the other side of it is one of their favorite things to hang around. Perhaps an All Lives Matter rally is one of their. That's one of their absolute favorite, next to posing as an undercover cop. A lot of people think Rob's on the fringe of things, but he's actually quite for the system. Or you can just be in a feminine voice. One way to lure them in the night, you can say out loud, I can't wait to start high school in 3 years. And then robs will appear everywhere. It'll be nuts. I kind of explain their mating habits and stuff in my second book, which is Eatin' Ya Dookie Don't Make You a Vegan by Larry Nightingale. drlarrynightingale.com, as well as our Dr. Larry Nightingale Center for all things Rob. Do we have certain questions at this point that I can address?
Does anyone have any questions for the good doctor?
When do you think the pandemic is going to flatten out or end?
That's a fair question. I'm glad that you asked it. Unfortunately, because of the curve, it's not going away for a while. And why does it spread? Every rob is almost like a patient zero. Anytime anyone looks at a rob crane, talks to a rob crane, emails them for dates, asks them to be on show, you are now with the virus. Even if you've had it before, your immune system freaks out. It's like, what is this thing? It's full of French fries? I don't know. And your immune system shuts down, and that's unfortunately how we lost a lot of my grandparents. But a valid question.
Well, how many grandparents did you start with, and how many did you lose?
I started with 15. It's a very big family, and we're down to about 6. We're down to about a small basketball team. If anybody wants to know where robs can be found, usually they're along historic sites in the Boston area. Some people would call it the Freedom Trail. I call it the Blood-Filled Trail. One of the things that you can find in that history are the journals of great president. What's, of course, a president we associate with Massachusetts, Rob?
Well, there'd be Kennedy, Adams.
That's right. Yep,
Bush,
Abraham Lincoln. So Abraham Lincoln's personal journals were actually recovered, and I'm working on that here. And it shows that robs have been around a lot longer than we thought. I mean, it's hard to tell because of all of the gray from birth until now what age a rob actually is. Rob.
Yeah, because I have such a young-looking face, and yet my hair is so white, but my face looks so young.
Easy, boy, easy.
Just so tight.
One of the things Lincoln pointed out in his journals here is, and you can see this sketch. This is Abraham Lincoln doing his favorite activity.
What is he doing there?
It's kind of, well, he's peeing into Rob Crean's mouth because Rob Crean is a Confederate sympathizer. It's kind of hard to understand what that means. It means that even though the war had ended, most of the statues that you see of Confederate figures in America are because of Rob's. They actually built 98% of them.
Dr. Larry, you're not a Confederate sympathizer?
No. I support
Tell your
the
hat.
Union.
All right, guys. Tell your hat.
Yes, this is what a Rob would call an attempt at humor or jokes. One of the things that Robs try to do is they try in the moment to gain as much attention as possible, even if the response is not laughter, but more sort of like an appendix-like pain where you wince and just, you kind of feel bad and you go,
Yes, I was just wondering, do you think all the Robs could be like part of like one single Rob that has like, just divided itself into many, many Robs, but they can still all link their source to like one particular Rob. So if you vanquish that Rob, all the other Robs will also get eliminated.
This is a fantastic point, and I've actually explored this in my theory. The Pangea Rob, as we call it, where it was once all together, has broken apart and has infested the world, as you can see right now. If we were to assemble all the Robs to essentially destroy them, what you would see would look like a big mound of shit, and that would be hard to distinguish between, each individual Rob, because they do look like walking, talking pieces of shit. But we're trying to put the pieces together, and funding pending. We're hoping to pick up some of those public schools that have seem to have gone under.
Actually, Alex Jones here from Infowars.com.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Alex.
It's true that Rob Crean is a part of the globalist conspiracy, along with Hillary Clinton, George Soros, and Josh Day.
Well, I don't know about George Soros or any other headphones providers, but I can tell you that Rob Crean is certainly, he was part of Vegan Pizzagate, which is instead of having any sort of sexual relations with children, Rob would actually gather them, talk to them for 8 minutes, and most of them would kill themselves. So it's something that the mainstream public doesn't really know about yet, but we're trying through education to get the word out here. But thank you, Mr. Jones. I love your show.
Infowars.com.
I guess probably the question that everyone wants to know is Dr. Larry, why do you do what you do?
I think it's kind of a civic duty in a way. Education, if you will, which is a term most Robs don't understand. It's learning, and through knowledge, we're able to educate ourselves and end the problems within America. And I think if a lot of people do just a little bit of research, they'll see that systemic racism, glorification of old Confederate statues, and within the system supporting misinformation out there, that Rob is the source of all of these problems. And if we clean up the Robs, then we're going to be cleaning up America. So, just a little bit for my civic duty to answer your question.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, keep it going for Dr. Larry Nightingale. That was.
Thank you so much.
Please welcome Tooky Kavanagh.
Yeah.
This is a time I'm still not used to the size of my own head on camera. It's like it's too much head for face.
Yeah, I feel like my face has gotten shorter, and I don't like it.
It's. I think you look the same. You look the same. I feel very what's the word? Augmented, thanks to the lens.
Yeah.
Getting used to that. I've been getting sucked into internet wormholes myself.
Yes. What are some that you've gotten stuck on lately?
Well, I discovered that DMX takes care of orchids now. Like DMX, where my dog's at, are like that's his new passion now. I never thought that the most soothing shit I'd ever heard in my life in 2020 would be a man growling at flowers, but like I'm into it.
Yeah, we wouldn't expect a Rough Rider to deal with such delicate flowers.
They need a lot of attention. I'm like, oh my God, DMX, this is spiritual.
The way he yelled was different than the way I'd ever heard anyone else yell.
It's great. It's really great. And like he, there's purpose behind it. He's deliberate, which I really appreciate, because like other rappers back in the day would yell and be like, whoa, like, yeah. It's not the same. It's with DMX, you get like this guttural response to his ground, right? You really feel that, right?
Yeah. Like I feel like it would be fun to perform as DMX because it's so, like the singing is so physical. It's like I feel like you gotta you like when he is singing, you can probably feel it in his whole chest. It must feel great.
Yeah, but this in this day and age, it's still DMX, but it's a very Zen DMX. It's not like sometimes I wonder what it is that I can't quite click with New Age Mike Tyson, but somehow DMX just speaks to me.
Yeah. Mike Tyson is like so tragic, and I think he's so sad. He's presenting as less sad, but I still feel like he's sad, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, he'll beat the shit out of anybody still, but where I feel sad for Mike Tyson, I'm just like, yes, DMX, put some Timberlands on that orchid. Like, yes, I'm here for you. I'm connecting with Zen Gardener DMX over the internet.
That's great.
I also found myself in this like weird Wikipedia hole of, I don't know, olden conquerors, which made me feel like I can't, I can't believe that we fed into this lie of white supremacy. It's the people who have problems with names like Taniqua or like Rashawn or any kind of, ethnic sounding name. Your ancestor was some guy named Jürgen Fleur. Like, yeah. I don't respect.
Yeah. Well, also I feel like it's different. Like I think when a Black person has a name that's like a new made up name, it's because Black people in America's culture was stolen, and they don't really, they've been living with this sort of, oppressor, culture, and they don't really feel connection to African culture. So they're creating their own culture, and it makes sense. Now, Gwyneth Paltrow naming her kid Apple, fuck her. Fuck yeah, that's fucking stupid.
It's pure fuckery.
Oh, what's Penn's Gillette's kid's name?
His daughter is named Moxie Crime Fighter. My middle name is Crime Fight. Like, it's great. It's great.
I do kind of like that.
I mean, it's not the worst.
I just feel like Penn Jillette is such a libertarian idiot that there are so many things he could have named her that I would have been like, ugh. And Moxie Crime Fighter, I'm like, all right, Penn Jillette, yeah, I do like you 25% of the time.
Why is every magician a libertarian? Every magician is a...
I just think you can't be a man wearing a vest and not be a libertarian,
Well, I don't understand why I have to say it like Darrell if it's Daryl. It's Darrell, right? But like you descend from some guy named Egbert. Like, I'm not going to respect you. Imagine getting conquered by an Egbert.
I gotta think that name should come back. Go by Eggy. It's not bad.
What a bitch ass name like Egg. Shaka Zulu would absolutely mop an Egbert. Like, I don't understand how anybody got conquered by an Egbert or a Jorgen Fleur. Like, anybody whose name sounds like the Swedish chef doing a vagina monologue, like Dr. Hyman. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how these people gain power.
Like, I can see getting conquered by Napoleon or Alexander the Great. Though really, I feel like it's the great part that's doing the majority of the work in that name. Like, I feel like if you were Egbert the Great, I'd be like, well, Egbert's kind of goofy, but it is Egbert the Great.
But that was a day and age before social media, so like, it was great if the hype preceded you.
But it's no good if you show up and you're like, I'm here to conquer you. I'm Egbert the Great. And they're like, the what?
You had to earn being great back then. You couldn't buy followers in 1066, right? You had to actually be what you are. But that's how we ended up with names like, nicknames like Charles the Bald or who's that? Reynold the Baby Maker? Somebody's nickname was the Baby Maker because he had children. Like, that's disgusting.
Do you think that the Baby Maker is just a guy that like had sex with a lot of women, or do you think he just had like huge balls and they were like,
he just allegedly made a lot of people. Which, great, you know, good for you getting it in, but also gross.
Yeah.
Wrap it up. They had lambskin back in the day.
Yeah, it's also, you know, he must have been like, look, I'm a sexual being, but that's not all I am.
Yeah.
I feel very objectified when you call me the baby maker. You know, I do a lot of things. I pillage.
Well, he's a really good painter too. You know,
Yeah.
it's like no one talks about his paintings.
They just talk about his baby making.
You and Lamont were talking about TV. What have you been watching?
Oh, I've been watching so much stuff. I just watched Homecoming on Amazon, which I liked. I've been watching a lot of comedy stuff. I've been watching Just Shoot Me, which I'd never seen, and is not good, but I'm enjoying it.
Classic OG David Spade.
I like Spade. You know, he's fine.
He's tolerable to me. I dig him. 90s me got him.
For sure.
2000s me, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, he's made some missteps.
Yeah. But like, respect. He's an OG in the game. You know?
Yeah, and I mean, look, there's something to say about someone that, like, you know, through the years works hard to make sure he remains Adam Sandler's friend, and that's really, you know, they're not making any more Deuce Bigelow movies, so I don't know how Rob fucked that up.
Which is, well, I mean, have you seen his Twitter?
Really?
He's aggressive on Twitter. You know, his daughter is the girl who's saying X's and O's.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know why I know that sad fact, but here we are.
Yeah. What is it? Is he an anti-vaxxer, or is he he's something? He's got some flat earther maybe? I don't know.
And no, I think the only popular anti-vaxxer, well, I wouldn't say popular, but she has a job, is Jenny McCarthy.
Yes.
Two canceled people because she and Robin Thicke both host the Masked Singer.
Oh, really?
Robin, I canceled myself, Thicke, but he tried so hard to cancel himself and like flip it into like sympathy, but he failed. And everybody was like, no, he sold 12 copies total of his album Paula in Australia. 12.
What?
Yes. You dedicate a whole album to your estranged wife and she doesn't even want you back. You fucked up.
Do you think she bought a copy?
God, no. She and their beige son absolutely left that situation.
He also, that song clearly is based on a Marvin Gaye song, and
that
obviously, and the estate of Marvin Gaye didn't really do anything about it, but then Robin Thicke's people like preemptively sued Marvin Gaye's estate for some reason, which is just, I don't know why you would do that.
I just let that man rest.
Yeah. He had a rough time.
Let the man rest. You know what's weird to me? I know, this is gonna be a spicy talk. I changed my Twitter handle because lately I've been a spicy meet the ball on that and just making some waves. I am very concerned about the resurgence of white titties for Black lives. I just feel like
yeah, there's a lot of it, huh?
Titties. Not that, I mean, obviously Black lives matter. I know this. I exist. I just want, especially comedic titties, to be put to good use.
What's your suggestion?
To not center white titties for a Black cause.
Yeah. They did raise a lot of money, though.
Did raise a lot of money, but did it go directly to some Black pockets?
I believe so. At least that's what I feel.
As if it did, like with like proof. I mean, obviously everything could be fake, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a tough thing to know, like, what to do as a white person. From right now, my instinct has mainly been just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, but that's
okay. Working okay for me so far.
Listening is the key, and that's what's been killing me, because I always see like the moms of allies, you know, trying to find ways out of taking accountability. You can present them with articles and links to directly donate and books to read and lectures to watch all these things, and they're just like, well, I still don't know how to help. I don't know how to help. Here's where you can donate, but I don't know how to help. I've had this happen to me before, where I'm like minding my business in a Whole Foods pre-social distancing, and a granola mom will just try and come up and touch my hair. Which is why I'm free to wear my hair natural now, but back in the day, I wouldn't.
That's literally the only. I obviously I don't have a lot of I don't really understand what the Black experience is like, but that's the one thing where I do have some overlap. Is I do have a lot of white women touch my hair without permission. It doesn't really work when my hair's like this, but when it's longer, you might get one.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're not a golden retriever. It's fucked up, right? I've had the situation where like I'm just minding my business. I want to buy some macadamia nuts, and I can't get my hair to do that. And it's with the nun fingers, especially. It's because Massachusetts, but and somebody will be standing right there, and they could have stopped it. They could have been like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. She's not a chia pet. Okay, it's not. She uses a lot of conditioner, and it's good stuff. Olaplex, highly recommend. But like, don't touch her. She's a human being, right? And it's the same kind of people who, in the face of these things, well, I don't know how to help.
If I saw that happening, I could be like, hey,
yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, things like, like white silence equals violence and stuff like that, which I think is a reasonable thing to say. But then you do see a lot of these white people not being silent, and it really makes you double think that. Like, it's not, their lack of silence, it isn't violence, but it is it's hurtful, right?
It's not. I mean, some of them post on forums where they shouldn't. 18 paragraph missives on when in reality, you could have just saved yourself a lot of typing by Venmoing me $5.
I've seen you post that in response to some misguided things, and I like it. I think I like how simple and non-combatively condescending it is.
I don't do it to make people feel bad. It's just like, well, we don't know how to directly help Black people. Venmo me $5.
You're not trying to make them feel bad, but you are acknowledging that they should feel bad.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I have empathy. I have empathy for this. You pour your heart out into that. I get it. I get it. But like, instead of Twitter fingers, Venmo me $5.
Have people any comics that have said dumb stuff Venmo you $5?
One or two, and I'm very, very grateful. I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah.
They appreciate my work, because it's work to read some of that shit.
Yeah, I don't
work.
Honestly, I just wait for you or Lars first to recap it in our text thread. I just don't have the page. I'm a slow reader. I don't get around to a lot of this stuff.
I'm on a mission to acquire a Dutch oven, because I had to, cancel my whole wedding and reception.
Yeah.
So I figured, well, we didn't have a registry, so let me try and get a Le Creuset Dutch oven. It's a good cooking it's a good appliance. I will get my Dutch oven, and it's all thanks to the community and people who, when they realize they fucked up, eventually Venmo me $5.
Most of the people that watch my shows are dumb white people. If you could just tell us your Venmo, so that if anyone out there it doesn't have to be towards Tooky in particular, but if you've said something on the internet or in life lately that you feel embarrassed about, and you wish you hadn't said it, you can feel better if you just Venmo Tooky $5. So what's your Venmo?
At T Kavanagh.
Please spell Kavanagh, please, because this is white people we're talking about.
Just like the Irish way, because oppression, but Kavanagh. No U.
Isn't a Dutch oven just where you pull the covers over someone's head and then fart underneath it?
Oh, I can afford that.
Where's the Venmo for that?
That's kind of like White Titties for Black Lives. That's a service you don't.
Oh, okay.
Or
I'll stop doing that then.
Yeah. But now, would Dutch ovens for COVID-19 relief be okay? That could be.
Sure.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that COVID can be passed through farts. So
yeah, you don't want to transmit anything.
Scientists have named the mist that comes up after a flush toilet plumes.
Oh, that sounds delightful. It sounds beautiful. It sounds like a flower DMX would tend to.
It's almost sexy.
If you're gonna get COVID, like to get it from afar, it would just be like you're going through your life. You're being super careful. You're wearing your mask, and then
My concern is, what if that's how the majority of cases in Florida emerged? No disrespect to Florida, but like all disrespect to Florida, because they were just out and about willy-nilly, no mask, farting everywhere. Somebody got a touch of the cove.
Oh, and they wear shorts, so the farts will have an easier time escaping.
yeah. Oh man, if you go to Miami, the home of the string bikini, that's just a string keeping them in.
We don't talk about the level of butt exposure. It's just south of the Mason-Dixon line in general.
Yeah. Oh, it's hot.
Well, okay, I am butt positive as a pear-shaped person, but at the same time, I grew up in Massachusetts, and our culture is very much still Puritan.
Would you describe it as butt negative?
Yes. I mean, yes. It's a very sexless, buttless culture. They came here 1620, and we didn't get a casino until 2019.
Yeah.
That's almost 400 years.
Great timing, by the way.
Oh my God.
Yeah, really perfect timing for a casino. Oh man. And like as the casinos was being opened up, just reading all of the articles about like how scummy everyone involved was, and then to have this happen, I'm like, look, every bar and restaurant and venue that I like is closed, and that sucks. But the casinos haven't taken a little bit of a hit too, and so there's some consolation, I guess.
I'm really mad at the fact that a lot of the people who came over on the Mayflower didn't do shit with their lives. Why am I still learning about them? Why did I ever have to learn about them?
They're all dead.
Why do we care?
Yeah. They were just here earlier.
Miles Standish, I don't know, set up a square somewhere, but like everybody else, why is it important to be a Mayflower descendant?
I've been thinking about like my ancestry a little bit because I realized that my grandmother was from Poland, and I realized I know nothing about her. Like I didn't know her maiden name until recently, which is, by the way, is Poljanowski, which is 2 on the nose. I had a grandmother and grandfather when I was a kid. My grandfather I don't ever remember speaking to. Even though he died when I was 10. And my grandmother, I do remember her speaking to me, but it was not pleasant. And I just didn't know anything about them. But like, for instance, I learned recently that my grandmother had a sister and my grandfather had a brother, and they got married.
What?
So, yes, so my grandmother's sister married my grandfather's brother. So 2 brother and sister couples, and yet I never saw those people. I never met those people. I never heard them. You know, like I can imagine getting married to, and then you lose touch with your sibling or whatever. But like if your sibling was married to your spouse's sibling, wouldn't you try and keep in touch?
You'd think there'd be incentive.
I think this is true, is that the Central Artery went in the 50s in Boston. And my grandparents lived south of Boston, and then their brother and sister lived north of Boston. And so once the Central Artery went in, they just were like, we're never going to see each other again. Just driving through Boston back then was just a nightmare. It was terrible.
Yeah. One last conspiracy theory that I want your opinion on.
Oh, great. I love conspiracy theories.
Okay. A lot of Black celebrities passed away within the past decade or so. You've had Kobe most recently, Michael Jackson, Prince, Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston. So there's sort of a conspiracy theory that's going on around older Black Facebook, because there's Facebook, but then there's a pocket of Facebook, like with any internet platform, where it's a lot of older Black aunties and uncles especially, who just kind of devise these conspiracy theories. And there's a theory going on in that little pocket that Stevie Wonder is the killer.
Well, I've definitely seen the Stevie Wonder can see conspiracy things.
Yes.
Which, and I guess like really what it is he always has been able to see a little bit. Like he can see shadows.
Yeah.
He's blind enough that he just was saying I'm blind, and because he didn't want to have a whole conversation about it every time.
Right.
But he's blind enough to say I'm blind, but he can see shadows. So if he sees a mic stand falling, he can catch it. But
yes,
yeah.
He's Motown blind, because back in that era, you didn't have time to explain. It's like, what's wrong with he blind? Fuck it. Let him sing.
Working for Motown, you got to record more tracks. They crank them out, assembly line style.
But how do you feel about him potentially being the killer?
That seems crazy to me. If it's true,
I mean,
but those are such different. Like Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin was
older. She had,
old.
she unfortunately she was worn down a little bit from health issues. You know,
yeah,
a little bit more vulnerable.
Sure.
But that's the thing though. Aretha, even while undergoing treatment, she'll still beat your ass with her purse. Like Aretha takes no shit. That must have been a very hard kill.
Why is he killing them? Is it like if he was still actively making music and he felt like he was in competition with Prince, then I could see him going after Prince. But his last album was probably over 10 years ago.
But you see Stevie at all of their funerals, and there's a pocket of uncles that are just absolutely convinced that he's the killer.
I could see him gunning for Prince, but why Whitney Houston?
Right. Whitney was busy by that time. She was allegedly boning Ray J, which
really
is that's a time commitment. Because he has, boning him obviously requires a lighting crew and tripods and shit. Like that's a time suck to have relations with Ray J. So she's busy. I don't know how Stevie would have gotten into the entire set undetected. Yeah.
Do you think there's a video out there? Not that I'm going to look for it, but
wouldn't judge you if you did look for it. I want to believe it just because he is at all their funerals, and everybody's just like, he's still going. Stevie Wonder's brain falling off at the bone, and he is still going. He is still here, and he's playing at every funeral. And it's like, okay, maybe he's the killer, but at the same time, these are theories espoused by the same kind of uncle who would bring a carpenter level on an airplane to prove the earth is flat.
I saw someone on Twitter posted that conspiracy theories are the white man equivalent to the white woman's horoscopes. And I was like, that's kind of true. And I was like, but I don't know, but I feel like black guys are into conspiracies too.
Yeah.
But then I realized that like black people's conspiracies are all like the system. Black people are being systematically oppressed, so they're like they're true. So
yeah, there's no Dateline investigative series dedicated to that.
No matter how crazy the black uncle's conspiracy theories are, I definitely am like maybe they might. I mean,
I just know that if there's a true crime podcast that emerges that pins Stevie Wonder as the killer, you all had heard it here first.
If Stevie Wonder is the killer, you kind of got to give it to him. I mean, look, like the fact that he just add that to his accomplishments.
Grammy winner, music icon.
Yeah,
murderer.
Jungle Fever.
Oh, I'm a product of Jungle Fever. I owe my existence to Stevie Wonder. I really do.
Specifically the soundtrack to the movie. I feel like that maybe is a term I shouldn't say unless I make sure that I'm specifically saying it only in relation to the title of a Spike Lee movie.
Yes, Rob. Do the right thing.
Malcolm X. Tooky, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope you'll come back soon. Please welcome Srilatha Rajamani.
And hi, Rob. This is George. I have to keep him on my lap because there are fireworks happening and he barks.
That's another big conspiracy that's going on, is what's going on with the fireworks.
I don't know, Rob. Like last night, it was fireworks. And then there was this idiot who kept like revving his vehicle. This was at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then George peed like 3 times, including one like on my bed. He peed on my bed. Mm-hmm. Like, who does that? What kind of an animal does that? Dog.
There's a dog in my house now, and he's peed on a lot of stuff. I got bitten by a dog yesterday.
George almost bit a police officer. This was like a couple of weeks ago.
A lot of us say that all cops are bastards, but George really puts his money where his mouth is.
I have been going to the marches and stuff. Normally I would leave him at home, but that day it was like a Sunday and somebody was moving into an apartment. By the way, anybody moving to a new apartment during COVID times, they have no business screaming in the hallway. Like really, like do it quietly out of shame, because you're taking advantage of low real estate prices at this point. And then George was like barking through it. I didn't want to leave him with me. So I took him I put him in a body harness, so he kind of looked like my third boob, really. He was on my chest, and he had this basket nozzle on, so he looked like Hannibal Lecter. So if a police officer without a mask is dumb enough to approach a dog having a basket nozzle because he bites, and then who is this cute dog? And already George was pissed because his name is George, and March, they were saying George Floyd, and George would go like him, and then he was already a little bit revved up. And then, like, why would police officers be without a mask? I don't like police officers in the best of times, but at that time I reached a new level of dislike because that's gross.
Yeah.
And then you're approaching a dog. I'm pretty sure that police officer went to Shake Shack, and he saw some white liquid that, people were using to clean because of COVID, obviously. Oh, this is a nice shake. And he started drinking. I hope no police officer sees this, by the way, because I am a foreign person.
Yeah, they can just kill you. That's the downside of talking with the police is they can kill you and they can get away with it.
I mean, if they did, and if I could sue them from heaven, I wouldn't mind it at all because, I mean, really, I've lived my life.
I feel like if I died soon, I'd be like, it was a good run.
Yeah, but I want money coming out of it. I've lived a long enough life that I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I want, I want that money to reach me in heaven. I don't want to leave it to my daughter. I want to like take it with me.
I live across the street from a police station. And so I'm definitely a little bit cautious about, what I do from my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my roommate, my Kramer, is not, and is just during all the protests, because the protests happen outside of our building because we're across the police station. He just will sit on his balcony and just yell at the cops, "You're all stupid!" And I keep saying, just remember. They know where, if you yell from here, they know where you live. You sure you don't want to go down the street and yell from down there? But
so that way masks are good. You can yell, but no one knows.
When I went to get tested for COVID, they specifically asked if you'd been at a protest, which I thought was weird because people had been saying like, "Oh, don't go get tested," because they're trying to track people who are at protests. I thought it was. I was like, that's probably not. Mm-hmm. True, but then they did really specifically ask about it.
See, I mean, now they're testing, but I was one of the OG COVID getters. I got it in way back in March. I called the doctor's office and they basically were trying to do tele diagnosis. And they were like, "What is your temperature?" Now, I knew I had fever, but I don't have a working thermometer at home. I don't know who does unless you have a baby at home or something, or unless you are having illness issues, generally. It took me a while to get tested. But when I was confirmed, my biggest fear was not having a thermometer at home, but it was, do I have enough sanitary pads at home? Because how can I go to CVS with, possible COVID? I am an asexual. I've not had sex in years. So I don't have the period tracking app because I know I'm never going to get pregnant. So I was just going through my brain of what's going on with me? Why did I not have the period tracking app? And can I just can I order Uber Eats to get me a pack of sanitary napkins from CVS? I was just a mess. I was already having symptoms like, diarrhea and stuff. You also don't want to have period along with it. That's disgusting.
Yeah. On the bright side though, being that you're not leaving the house, I mean,
yeah, I know. I just started putting grocery bags. Yeah. I just put them all on chairs and stuff. If anything happens, let it happen. I can wash and reuse the bags. I'll be environmentally conscious. I mean, even when you're sick, you want to be woke,
If you don't leave your house, you don't have to wear pants, and really, anything pretty much works as a sanitary pad if you're not wearing pants.
Absolutely. Even George would. I mean, I haven't experimented, but he's pretty soft.
He looks absorbent.
Oh my God, Rob, I'm hoping you edit this because this is so much weird stuff.
Well, I'll edit it a little bit, but if there's anything you want me to take, I'll let me know about it.
Yeah, it's okay. As long as my parents don't see it, I have nothing to be worried about, and they probably won't.
There's no way they're going to get through the first 40 minutes of the show. If they get through Lamont talking about Walker, Texas Ranger, then there's no way they're going to get through Dr. Lamont.
I didn't know any of it. I didn't know any of the shows he was talking about.
Oh,
but
really?
I was still oh, this is so funny. Now I want to watch all of them,
His enthusiasm is infectious.
I mean, I even looked for the Nintendo cereal all over the place after hearing that bit of Lamont's about Nintendo cereal.
I do remember eating it, and it was not a good cereal. It did not last long. It was oat bits with marshmallows.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I ate the box I had, but I don't think I got more than one box.
I mean, if it's oats, then actually the box may taste a little bit better, I think, with all due respect to oats.
Both the box and the oats are, number one, a great roughage. Also, in a pinch, can be used as sanitary pads if you need to.
Absolutely. I mean, even oats, when soaked and, dried out, can be used as pads, I think.
Nintendo. It's a sanitary pad now.
Oh, gosh.
How long did it take you to kind of get over the virus?
I think I was sick for about a week to 10 days. After that, they say 2 weeks or so you have to stay. But I was just like really worried about going out at that point because, but I'm living alone here with George. So it was just hard. It was just like, I can't ask anyone to do my groceries. I have to do it on my own. Fortunately, before all of this, I had, like a lot of people, I had bought enough stuff. And, I'm a South Indian. So as long as I have rice and like buttermilk at home, I'm good. I can survive anything. But the problem was taking George out for his walks, which was like very hard. Yeah. I was worried about doing that. And I ended up getting him to training him to pee in my bathtub. And he started doing that. And now I just plonk him down and he does it. And I don't use that. I mean, people are like, are you going to take baths in there? No, I take a shower. What am I, like a rich person? No, I take a shower.
You just put a pee pad in the bathtub and that's...
I don't keep pee pads. The New York City is my pee pad and George's too. We both used to, good old days, we both would squat right outside Port Authority and do our business. But it's nice, actually, apart from the summer smells coming through, most of the time it's nice. I live near Times Square. And see, when you were talking about COVID, like the casinos, having, part-time is kind of a nice thing.
Yeah.
I do feel bad that a lot of, city has been so quiet, but when Times Square is quiet, it is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't feel so bad for the M&M story.
Yeah. And I walk around, I feel like one of those dolphins in Venice in the canals, this is how Times Square is meant to be enjoyed without people.
There were a lot of cities that were sort of patting themselves in the back for their smog levels being lower than ever during this. And it's like, well, yeah. You can't, you didn't do anything to make that happen. It just
turns out it was human the whole time. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's horrible what this pandemic has done to the world. But, but George learned to pee in his bathtub. So I Indians, we come back, we take off our shoes and we have to wash our feet. So when we walked our dogs back in India, we used to bring them home and wash their feet. I have to walk several floors, flights up and down, and then make sure he doesn't bite people. As long as they are not cops, I don't want him to bite people. So, it's hard. And then you bring him and you have to wash his feet several times a day. But doing it in the bathtub is perfect, man.
There are certain positive things that have come out of this. Like for instance, I just, my friend Gary moved to LA. And so I just, we always loved doing comedy together, but we couldn't really do it because we were on different sides of the country. And then when it happened and we couldn't do anything else, we were like, oh, we've actually had the technology to do stuff together this whole time. So in a way, I've also brought some metaphorical urine into my bathtub, Gary back into my life.
Is Gary still listening? Is he in the chat? I don't know.
Hard to tell.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Okay.
There's the metaphorical urine. I'm glad that you're doing better. What are you doing now that you're back in good health?
I've been working from home for 12 years. So I've always been in the virtual world, like meetings and stuff, connecting with people online. So honestly, the pandemic didn't change most of my life, really. But what this has given me is a lot more time to go into weird corners of Wikipedia, the K-pop side of the world. Yeah. I used to do that before I started doing comedy, but now that things are quiet in the comedy front, I'm more crazy into this now. So well, not crazy. I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested.
Well, and the K-pop community has been in the news recently.
It's just blown my mind because I'm an old fan. I've been a fan since 2003. K-pop kind of became more popularized because of YouTube. And the way we used to spread news of our boy bands was to tag people and put videos and stuff. I didn't do that because, I'm an adult, and also because I did that, but no one will know it was not under my name. So Srilatha, Rajamani did not do that, but someone else did, right? But now, they use the same technique to do all of this stuff.
Can you explain some of what has been happening to anyone that may not have heard of it?
Didn't they go to the Trump rally?
Well,
they actually booked
didn't.
tickets, like made reservations, and then they didn't show up. But this is the thing: K-pop fans are like a very close-knit community of international levels. An average K-pop boy band within an hour about 60,000 retweets. Like the scale is immense. A group of fans decided, and what many people did, comedians, my friends did that too. They reserved a ticket and then didn't show up. But K-pop fans did it as a mass. And K-pop fans have done that to their rival bands in the past. You're a fan of one group and not the other, which is not me. I'm a fan of all groups. But usually within K-pop, it is usually like we are a fan of only one group. You have to have loyalty to that one group. So if another group came to a concert, they would do the same shit. They would basically like buy tickets and not show up. So it was like a very mean thing. Now they did that to Trump. So
they still get the money, right?
It takes a level of dedication to buy a ticket for a band that you hate and then not show up, which is how K-pop fans are. It's not easy to be a K-pop fan. It's a very hard job, like you have to learn the lingo. If an album is released, you have to like stream it so many times to increase the YouTube view count. And then you have to learn the fan chants. So when you go to concerts, you'll know how to do the fan chants. You have to buy light stick. Every K-pop band has their own specific light stick.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, and they cost like $50.
Like, are they different shapes?
There are different shapes. Like there is one that looks like a radish, and there is one like BTS has one that looks like a bomb. Literally, it looks like a grenade, and we call it the army bomb. So sometimes when we are going to BTS concerts, I would be talking to other fans, and somebody would say, "Hey, my bomb is not lighting up," and then you could see people in the number 7 train. Just like New York is not ready for bomb drop. So many unique things in K-pop that most people, you can't just wish your way into fandom. It is not an Instagram influencer fan that you just click like and everything. You have to like invest, and I don't know how many people are ready to invest. It's not exactly the nicest. Sometimes you have to be ready to steel yourself to confront racism and then steel yourself to getting doxxed by other fans. My favorite boy band is BTS, and one of the members recently released his mixtape where one of the numbers was a sampling from Jim Jones. It happened during, the Black Lives Matter movement happening around the world, and fans are super mad, and I was super mad. And then New Yorker publishes this article that says, oh, K-pop is, so socially conscious and stuff. New Yorker, you're not doing your investigative journalism. I'm not saying everything is black or white. In K-pop, it is definitely not.
What was the context of the Jim Jones?
He just was sampling. He was listening and sampling. He just did it without thinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jim Jones is interesting.
But it was like,
yeah,
and then BTS was donating $1 million to Black Lives Matters. Okay, BTS is donating, yes, but they also went to Saudi Arabia to perform when they were bombing the shit out of Yemen. So, at heart, K-pop is a business. A lot of the times the companies make their decisions. You can't just be like, oh, they are so socially conscious. You have to put in the work to know what K-pop as a community is. And it's an amazing community. I love it, but get your facts right.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you teaching me a little bit more about it.
And also, if anyone wants to know anything about K-pop, message me. I'm on Instagram, and I'll only point you to the right sources. I'm not like New Yorker that investigates nothing and publishes a bullshit article.
Where can we find you on Instagram?
Srilatha Sauce.
Keep it going for Srilatha. Keep it going for Tooky, for Gary, for Lamont, and keep it going for Tiny for being here, for Heather for being here. Thank you so much. This has been the Virtual Gas. I'm your host, Rob Crean. Have a great night.